Welcome to the Thought Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Isabella Sanchez Castañeda. Let's jump right in. Welcome to the Thought Leaders Podcast. Today, I have Cydney with me, and we're going to talk about thought leadership in a very multi-hyphenate way. And Cydney, I know you as someone who finds themselves involved with really cool people. I obviously know you mainly through Delilah and through the Jefatona movement, and you just were telling me that you are involved in a beehive hoedown. Is that what it's called?
It's called Hive Hoedown, but basically
Hive hoedown. So you have just found yourself involved with really cool people, specifically in the event space.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about that and all of the ways, like, how do those opportunities come to you?
So it probably started, if we're going all the way back to when I was like online, like just trying to meet people. And I met this friend online, and she had a company called, at the time, Jawbreaking Jewelry, and it evolved into like apparel and stuff. And so she started vending at Warped Tour, taking it back. She would like come out, like, and so I got a ticket. I helped her out, and that's probably the first time I got involved with any kind of like, what does vending look like? What does it look like for vendors? And so I was like, oh, I'm really serious about this. And I didn't really go to or touch events. I would go as a consumer, but I didn't really stack anybody up until probably about 2 years ago when I was a mastermind program director. And I had, and in my agreement, it was that I had to, put together 3 in-person events for like 30 plus people, including like the speakers, and making sure we had like lodging and making sure all this stuff. And I was like, I don't want to ever see an event again. I don't know. Don't talk to me about that. Like unfollowed, like I kept saying it over and over. Like people were like, oh, we should like tap you for event space. I was like, nope, don't tell people I do event. I don't want it, like, be away. And I ended up I wanted to, get excited for Beyonce coming to Charlotte because I've never seen her. And I was like, ooh, there's this Renaissance brunch. I don't know what this is. I want to go and be surrounded by like the beehive, even though I don't claim myself as one, but that's not the point. And I was like, I just want to like go. And so I had a really good time. I filmed content. I went by myself. I'm an introvert, party of one. And so I was like, oh, but I ended up going to the club and like talking to all those people. And then they started noticing. I was like, hey, here's some content. And they were like, wait, like, you caught a lot. And so they were like, hold on, come, like, the choreographer group, like, come back to the next event and like, can you film content for us? And I was like, yeah, I got you. I had 3 different devices, and like I was like running around the event, and I was like, we're gonna get this content. So I don't know how much I filmed. It was a lot. It took me like days to get it off of all my devices. It's okay. And so this year they were like, oh, I thought they were just gonna do Renaissance Brunch again, and they're like, well, Cowboy Carter's come out now, and so we're gonna do Hive Hoedown. And I helped come up with the name, which is really exciting. And not a lot of people probably know that, but I was up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and so was the host. And we were like talking to each other. We were like bouncing names off, and we are like, let's see what this. And I think that's why Mira was just like, Cydney, you're just on the team. It's fine. It's just because I like helping people. I think that's how I get involved and just know so many cool people, is that I just support people. I'm like, what? Why would I not support you? Like, you're doing audacious things, like bold things. Why would I not want to see you win? I want everybody to win. It's probably the Libra in me, but it's that really how I got involved with this latest event, because I just love being around people as much as I'm an introvert and want to stay at home all the time. So,
oh my goodness. And something that I notice in this, and I notice in the Jefatona movement, is like you're also really involved with movements that center around women, and you also have the Girls Collective. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so, and I was like, oh no, Delilah doesn't think I'm copying her. That's like, Jefatona said to my friend, and I was like, I hope she does not think I'm trying to copy her. I'm just trying to figure out where my space is in the like building community. I've always wanted to build communities for underserved, is how I say it, underrepresented people. And so I started actually with Stream on Youth in 2012, and that was for students, and that was talking about mental health and wellness, because people send their kids off to college, and it's like, okay, like, fend for yourself for some people, not everybody, but it's a very like, it's like they almost get forgotten. And so I was like, I felt like that. Not that my parents forgot me, but just like the world forgot that I am still a person. Like I'm not just a student trying to graduate from college. Like I'm a person and I have needs. And I don't think this is for me, but I don't know who to talk to about this not being for me. And so as a college dropout, I was like, I don't want anybody to ever feel like they can't prioritize their wellness and that some like that everything is gonna fall apart if if their dreams change once they get into something. And so, it started with that. I, work and corporate career and all that stuff kind of got in the way. And I was like, I'm really missing Dream on Youth and I want to get back involved. But like every time I tried to force it, it wouldn't work. And so I was sitting there like last year, the year of Audaciously, in the worst way. And was like, I feel like I should be doing something with community. And I had started like an Uplifting Women of Color project, called it like Melanin Mode. It's in Melanin Mode on Instagram. And so I started that for a year or so, and then I was like, I don't know what to do with that. It was supposed to be this, now it's this, and I'm like, something just a myth. And so I kept playing with the idea of being a girl last year because I was like, I don't think people understand what that concept really means. I was like, yes, like it's about supporting each other, supporting women, but at the end of the day, like you have to hold each other accountable too, and not just about the fun stuff. Like there's some stuff like you don't have to. I've been called out like recently about stuff that I was doing, and I was like, you're right. Thank you, friend." And it's not just about, women who are born and identify as women, but like trans women and like taking the X out of it when we're talking about women. Like people put like, oh, I'm being inclusive because I put an X in women. I'm like, you're actually not. I was like, as much as like the perception is there, the reality is if you just said women, it does include them. But most people don't see it that way. And so I actually talked about it on my podcast. And so that is the most played episode on my Tell All podcast. I did not expect that. But it's the truth about being the girl. I think I go over like 5 things. And so many people have played that. And I'm like, oh, and this is without me like really promoting it. I'm like, oh, y'all really want to have a conversation. And so I was like, what can I? And I started like, I just wanted it to be a directory for girls. And then I was like, oh, I can do it one for creatives. I can do one for fitness and small business and all this stuff. And so I had started those on Thread. And I was like, it's gotta be bigger than that. I was like, I can feel it. Like it's right there. And so I was like, we're gonna make this a platform. And I'm just gonna start promoting people. I'll promote girls on Girls Collective because that makes, the most sense. And I'll do the creatives on the Limitless Creative Society because that makes the most sense. I just wanted more spaces for the different intersections of my life that were really about uplifting people where we're at. A lot of people are like, I want to work with this person, and they're these huge names, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, y'all forget all the time that like likely the people that are going to help you get to the next level are the people beside you and the people that they know and the people that they know. And it's a ripple effect. It's your sphere of influence. Like I can't tell you how many connections have come out of me doing the seemingly random things that I do. So I think that the Girls Collective is not the first thing that I've done like that, but it was the thing that felt the weirdest to me because I was not always a girl's girl. That was something that I had to learn and adapt. So, trying to navigate like, can I do this? Because I used to be a guy's girl and I used to say I did not like girls and that all the girls were mean and catty. So when I was younger, I was like, can I navigate this? And it's probably been the most fun out of all of them because like it's just, girls are just like, "Ah, this man is complimenting me." And I mean, like, that's all right. And thank you for calling me beautiful. But like a girl compliments you, it's just like your whole world lights up, which I love.
It really seems like connection is your special place, right? Like really being a connector of people, whether that's through events or working with people on events, whether that's through these different collectives, through these different platforms that you're creating to connect people. And I'm curious where that came from. Like when did you recognize the power of that connection and the power of connection to network, to community, and those different areas?
I honestly probably noticed it around college. Like, of course, like you have friends in school and stuff like that, but I had never really, even though I had traveled the world thanks to, my family being in the military and stuff like that, and I knew the world was so much bigger than like, that local circle, I'd never really like tapped into, I've been in summer enrichment programs, stuff that my parents put me in. I just like, I was introverted and shy at the time, because introverted does not mean shyness, but I was shy at that time. And so I was like, in college when I started Dream on You, like that was after I'd been on academic probation, had to go home, had to hear my parents tell me that they were disappointed in me, which is the worst sentence I've ever heard in my life. I don't care what anybody says. That breaks my heart. And so I was like, oh, okay. And honestly, if I go even further back, maybe it was around the time this is why I said my life is probably random to most people, became a photographer on accident. So, like I was local, but, I was taking pictures of my friend, again, that local community. And I did it for my friend who, she was a senior. She was a year younger than me, and she was a senior. And her mom ended up paying me. And I was like, what? So I was like, huh? And I was like, she's like, yeah, thank you. And I was like, what is happening? And so I was like, oh, maybe I can actually do this, like, as my like business. And so I started like promoting online. That was back in the days of MySpace. There was not all these cool apps and things out here to help us. Like Canva was not around. So I was doing a lot of stuff, like learning and connecting with people that I knew, but other people would start to hear about me from the people that I, took portraits of, and they were like, oh, like, can you do this? Can you do engagement? Can you do wedding? I'm not proud of all the pictures I ever took. Okay, like it's still a muscle I was growing, but it was one of those things where I saw that like my creativity, even though I thought that I was not a creative person, like I thought my mom and my brother and like even my dad were all these creative people, but like I just didn't have it. Like I was just the smart girl, the shy girl. And so I was like, oh wait, like this is actually like a thing. I'm actually creative, like, and this, like my art is connecting people. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's giving them so much joy to see their faces when I'm like, oh, you have to look at this shot, and like it's in the camera, and just to see their faces light up. I'm also like an educator by heart. Like that is one of those things that I love. And so just a light bulb moment for me when people, like, I'm talking to people and something clicks for them, I'm just like, oh, my heart. And so it started then, and it just kept excuse me, growing and growing and growing. And I think that's what really, I tell people all the time, I'm the bridge for people. A lot of people, like, I'm the bridge to their healing, to their happiness. I'm not responsible for it. I don't take accountability to be like, I'm going to be the person that gets you to this point and this is what's going to happen. Like, I can speak life into your dreams, but I'm not going to do the work for you. That's still something that you have to do for yourself. So I think knowing that I'm a connector, but knowing how to set that boundary of like, where does my work stop, is a recent development. I will be very honest. I usually overextend myself. I'm learning.
That's so beautiful. And I'm really curious because you said like you had to step into this identity of being a creative and you had to like embrace this part. However, I think as creatives, and I sometimes struggle embracing that word as well, there's a reputation of being scattered and a reputation of having too many projects. And I think that people speak very ill and negatively of that. But you have already mentioned during this interview, like you have access so many beautiful connections and so many beautiful opportunities because you're willing to explore and you're willing to say yes to multiple opportunities at the same time. And so I'm curious how you navigate that trope or that stereotype of like being scattered, and also how you make sure that you're doing these things well.
For me, I've definitely felt that. People project things onto you all the time. I've felt that way of like, I'm scattered, I'm like inconsistent. And it took until probably this year for me to go, no, it's just that like I'm doing so much at once, it looks like I'm not making progress. It looks like I'm not being consistent, but like I'm actually diving into more than most people will ever do in their lifetime. And I have to acknowledge that. I have to see that like I have limitless potential, and not a lot of people end up ever tapping into that in their lifetime, which is like, of course, heartbreaking, but like some people just like don't have the mindset, haven't done the work yet to tap into it. It might happen later in life, it might not ever happen, but that's not our responsibilities to figure out. And so I think I had to embrace that I was multi-passionate and multi-hyphenate. first and foremost. Once I figured that out, I was like, okay, it's not one or the other. I'm both. I'm Sarah Jake Roberts says this really well. She's like, we keep thinking it's this or that. It's this and that. And I'm like, oh, and that's why I was talking about intersections earlier. A lot of what I do is based off of, yes, my own life and my own experiences and what I needed at a certain point in time. But it's like the intersection of whatever that thing is. So it's like, okay, I'm a creative, but I'm also like limitless in my creativity. I don't have to choose, like, if I decide to change my mind about this project, it's my prerogative to. Now, this is not if you have a business and there are people depending on you. So like, before you make that decision, consult people. But it's about, okay, I had this capture and connect like initiative that was part of my agency, my consulting agency. And it was, shopping as a consumer, going to like couple events and stuff like that. And then taking photos of some of the products that I like purchased. And so, and it wasn't like for any, like, I wasn't trying to get them as a client. I wasn't doing any of that. Again, trying to help people. I was using photography, which I was no longer, really doing and not really like had a business for it. And I was using like my ability to connect with people and my visionary eye and was like, okay, I will, use this and like give small businesses that. And I've actually made some really beautiful connections just off of doing that. So I think for me, I have to focus on, okay, if it feels like if I'm starting to question myself, if I'm starting to doubt, if I'm starting to feel scattered, okay, what is this, my single truth about everything that I do? What is the one thing what is my why? And my why is always, if I helped, like I inspired, informed, influenced one person, in the name of good, like I did what I intended to do. It's not about me going viral. I've done it. I don't get the hype because virality doesn't equal sales. Does not equal money, y'all. But I was like, okay, what is my why? And if I focus on the why instead of this is how people are going to perceive me, this is how I need to know me first. I need to know who I am and what my gifts are and where I'm at and what season I'm in. There's a lot of times I've stopped and started. I've like put on the back burner. I've brought back like just to like let them like fall again. It doesn't. I think the problem with being a multi-hyphenate is we think that because we started something, we also have to finish everything. And it's like, no, it's okay to quit things. Some things are like no longer aligned. And so like you doing it's just you forcing something that you're not even passionate about. And I'm big on doing everything with heart and doing everything with good intention. If that's no longer my thing, I'm like, you might be setting up somebody who's like, actually, I would love to have this idea from you. Can I have it? You never know. So I think it's just about like, it's a lot of mindset. It's just a lot of like processing, like, who am I? What is my why? And running with that instead of vanity metrics and what everybody else tells you should feel about like how you should feel as a creative, how consistent you should be. Because that's the other thing about consistency. It doesn't look the same for everybody. Everybody on social media is going to tell you should post every day, multiple times a day, and you should post this kind of content, and it should be trendy. And I promise you, I grew more when I was posting 3 times a week. So it's different for everybody, but I will say that why and knowing who you are is going to get you so much further ahead, whether you identify as a multi-hyphenate or not, whether you identify as a creative or not, that will carry you so far in life because you won't be bothered looking to the left and the right because you'll be focused on moving forward. Now, I'm not saying you won't help people, but you won't be focused on, oh, what are they going to say? What are my family going to say? What are my friends going to say? I did not tell my family about Dream on You for a year and a half. The only reason my mom found out is because I posted something on Facebook. That's good stuff. Sometimes you have to move in silence. And I think that the other thing creatives need to be comfortable doing, you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody. It sounds so weird, but look at Beyonce. She don't be telling anybody anything.
Yeah, and what I really glean from that is like everyone has a different strategy and everyone has a different like way of bringing it out into the world and bringing what they do forth, and for some people it might be leaning into focus, for some people it might be leaning into the different avenues. I'm really curious, what is the thing that you most want to be known for through all of these different projects?
I think for me is my heart that I did everything with love, with heart, with good intentions, that it wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't, oh, she made this amount of money. She did this, like she did this award and that award. I want people to know me because I'm, as my mom says, pure love, that I'm unconditional love. That's how I move through the world. That's how I do everything. I do everything with intention, everything with love. I'm not perfect. I'm still human, but that's how I try to do everything. And so if anybody remembered anything from me, I would want them to talk about my heart and how I showed up for people in the way that they were expecting me to.
And you're showing so much of that through the different initiatives that you have, is bringing that heart to people where they most need it, where they most feel comfortable, which is really beautiful. And obviously this is the Thought Leaders podcast, and I'm curious what being a thought leader and what seeing a thought leader means to you.
So I think thought leadership for me, it's not a fairly new concept, but I was trying to figure out, like, am I a thought leader? And I almost did not, like go for this podcast opportunity because I was like, I don't think I'm a thought leader. Again, trying to like embrace who I am. And I was like, but if I think about it, thought leadership to me is people who push the boundaries of what we know as reality and what we know, like, within the standard. They push that status quo, and it's like, yeah, this is status quo, but like, look at everything else around it. Look at what we're missing out on because we won't push past this boundary that has been set for us. It's not something that we created. It's something that's been set for us to keep us. I hate saying the word in line, but that's what it feels like, is to keep us in these boxes and in line and to doing, the bare minimum and like not enjoying the lives we're living, not exploring and following our curiosity, as my friend Lataki would say. Like, the idea of thought leadership, and you don't have to have a huge platform to be a thought leader. I think that's the other thing we get so hung up on. I'm not a thought leader because I don't have like 10K followers, which is probably part of my thought process. But I'm not a thought leader because I don't have this or this or this accolade, or I haven't done this thing. And it's like, no, I was like, if I really think about all the conversations I've ever had, even recently, but like all the conversations I've ever had in my life, it's always somebody telling me that like I woke them up or made them think differently. And I think that's what thought leaders do, even if like that, it doesn't work for everybody because we are not for everyone, neither is our art. It's done that thing of like one person. If I inspired and impacted one person, it's like, oh, thought leaders just do that on a bigger scale. It's like, I have, impacted hundreds and probably thousands of people. That's terrifying to say, but it's just on a bigger scale, which I think is where the leader part comes from, because it's the idea that like, and leader really isn't a title thing. Like, you can be a leader in any title, any role that you're in. But it's like the heads of like, these are the people leading different ways of thinking, challenging the status quo, and they're making space and breaking feelings for the people that are coming behind them. Because at the end of the day, it's always about future generations and the people coming up behind us. I don't want people to have to go through what I went through to figure stuff out. It took me so long sometimes. So I think that's what a thought leader is. Like, yes, we are, paving the way and like opening the minds and opening the heart spaces of so many other people. But in turn, like, those people will end up opening from the next person and the next person. And it just creates a huge ripple effect. And I think that's the other thing thought leaders are really great at, is creating a ripple effect for challenging the status quo.
Absolutely. And I think that that's so wonderful to hear that you pushed past a doubt and you pushed past a worry that almost kept you from taking this opportunity or from other opportunities. And the fact that you didn't let it stop you is so wonderful. And that kind of leans into, you mentioned right before we started the interview that this is your year of audacity for good. And you were kind of mentioning that last year might have been the year of audacity in the worst way possible. But tell me a little bit more about how someone can live their most audacious life for good.
I think the year of audacity in the name of good is just, like I said, doing everything with heart, doing everything with good intentions. And it doesn't mean that it's going to make sense for anybody else. That's like I said, moving in silence earlier. Like, I've done so many things that people are probably like, Cydney, you cannot put more things on your plate. And I'm like, like I believe in God. So I was like, God told me to do this thing and I'm listening. So we're just gonna roll with it. Y'all will be okay. I don't know what's happening with it yet. So don't be alarmed. It's just here. And usually why I move in silence, because there's like 20 million things going on over on this side. And I think being audacious, being bold is really about like, if it's really on your heart, like that thing that keeps you up at night, if that thing that like gnaws at you and you're like, why won't this go away? It's probably because you're supposed to do it, not somebody else. It's not for somebody else. It's probably that even if it scares you, you're the one that's supposed to do it. And I can't tell you how many times I'm like, no, like push that thought back in my head, like lock the door, put padlocks on it, like don't open it back up. But I think the other thing is knowing that when you go step into your year of audacity in the name of good, you're not going to have to do it alone. It might seem like it at first, but a lot of people end up feeling like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I want to be a part of this. Oh, like, and they start trusting you with other things, with other conversations, because they're like, you're doing this thing. And I trust you because I see you doing the thing and I want to be more like that. I want to try. So I'm going to confide in you. And I think that's the most beautiful part is so many people are seeing me live my life so audaciously in so many various ways that like my mom and I have had conversations. She's like, you're glowing. What is on? She's like, or she'll say, stuck my baby, she's pure love. She always says that's my baby on all my posts. So if y'all see that, that's my mother. Her mother. She's very proud. But you'll find your people along the way of you focusing on you. I think that's the other thing. The year about the athlete in the worst way was I was so focused on everybody else and I was not pouring into myself. And I was the queen of self-care. I've been called so many times, or the self-care dealer. Like, I'm known for taking care of myself, and I just was not last year. I was so stuck in that mode of having to live with 3 other people during the pandemic and having to just feel like I had to like have it together so nobody else would fall apart. And I've lived much of my life that way. As much as I've tried not to, self-care is still like a thing I have to work at, even knowing as much as I know and being as open and honest and romanticizing my life as much. I think when we focus on ourselves and know that if we focus on ourselves first, that does not mean that we're selfish. It means that like, no, we understand that like to pour from me in the most authentic way, in the most loving way. I need to pour from my overflow. And Maddie James has this best, not to pour from a full cup. You need to be able to pour from your overflow. If you're not pouring from your overflow, you're doing yourself and other people a disservice. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Some days I'd be like, am I not doing enough? And I'll straight up tell people that, am I not doing enough for you? So like I'm very open and honest about it. They're like, no, like I didn't even notice. And I'm like, okay, I'm just being paranoid. Okay. That's fine. But and just have fun with it. Like as experience as the title probably found, like it's really about having fun and enjoying the life you're building as you build it, because so often we're like, oh, when I reach retirement, oh, when I get this much money in the bank, oh, when I get this. And I'm not saying like go crazy and like not have savings and stuff like that. I'm saying like be very like mindful of, am I doing this and enjoying my life? Am I doing it? Or like, when's the last time I took time for myself? I spend it's supposed to be an hour. It ends up being like 2 to 3 first like 2 to 3 hours by myself, like not on social media. Like I did a really good job today. I even made myself chain take. Like I was pretty impressed. But really like being in my Bible and like being outside with my cat and like watching the sunrise over the buildings. And I was like, oh, this is a vibe. I was like, why was I not doing this before? Like why? And so enjoy the life you are building while you build it, and know that like you're not going to be alone forever. You are never without love. That's another one of my affirmations, because after a breakup last year, I was like, hold up. And you're not going to miss your opportunity because you're I'm not on social media, I'm not posting this. I promise you these people will find you. Like things be popping up in my inbox and I'm like, who? What? Like what? How did we get here? Why are you in my inbox? How did you find me? I still don't know the answers to most of those questions, but that's not the point. So I think that's what it's about.
Yeah, and especially as a connector, your ability to prioritize yourself, because it's like I don't know why the analogy right now is kind of is gonna come out bad. But it's like the should have paid attention in science class. But you know how like the conductors, the little like the different wires, the different metals and everything that take from one place and move it into the other, and those conductors, right, as people have to be really well taken care of and really protected also, so that the energy doesn't get wasted, or so that the energy doesn't stop flowing. And so that's so amazing that Audacity, I think Audacity has gotten a really bad rap, and I think that's why you make the distinction that it's audacity in the name of good, but the audacity to take care of yourself so that you can continue to take care of others. And really for the listener asking themselves like how they can be audacious and taking care of themselves in order to then connect and flow and bring energy to others is such a powerful reminder for people.
So yeah, I think I've been trying to, and thankfully for my mom, like, you know, she got married in her like early 20s to my dad, and so she is the one who taught me. She was like, they were both like, don't date until you're 16. I didn't listen. I did when I was 15, but that's not the point. But they were very much like, you know, my mom was like, don't focus on voice so much, like focus on like who are you? Like, get to know yourself. She was very supportive of like, okay, do you want to like live alone when you move out? Do you want to live with your best friend? Like what do you want to do? Like, make sure you take trips solo. Like, don't just like go visit friends. Like, make sure you spend time with yourself. She's very much a big advocate, you know, for, you know, women, and especially just like me and my brother, honestly, like doing stuff alone. Now, I think at this point, she's like, when are we having grandkids? And she's like, are we ever having grandkids? Okay, first of all, you're concerned. Did you not tell me not to worry about these things? It will happen. Calm. If it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. Calm down. That's all happen. But I just think I just not like, sometimes we look at it as like, well, I don't know this person, so I'm not gonna say that. And it's like, if they're coming to you about like they want to have this conversation, like in our DMs and stuff like that, like sometimes we get nervous about sharing things with people. And it's like, if you feel off, like of course you don't have to, but if you feel like you feel called to share with that person, then like talk to them, have a genuine conversation. I've had so many conversations. I just had a conversation last night with somebody, and we were talking about all the different ways that, you know, our spirituality has changed and where we're at in life. But we hadn't had that conversation in like probably months. Like, we haven't talked in probably a few months now, on that level. And so I think people just need to embrace that, like, yes, this world, I'm sure this world is full of, well, we know this world is full of like scary things and things that like, you know, they love to use like fear as like the motivator. And I'm like, why do I have to be scared of everything to do something? Like, why do I have to be scared of everything? Like, if it makes me nervous, it means, I always tell people, if it makes you nervous, it probably means that you're really excited and really passionate about it. I'm not saying always, but it's more often than not, that is the thing. And so like being audacious and being bold, it might scare you, it might make you nervous. Do it anyway. And it doesn't mean you have to take this like huge, massive, like maybe somebody wants to be a content creator and they're like, I don't want to show my face online. There are plenty of faceless content creators. Trust me, there's a space for you. Go for it. Like, just start creating. You can create a whole new page. You don't even have to tell your family and friends. Like, just go for it. I think that's the thing I wish more people understood. It doesn't have to be this huge step. Like, even if it's just you writing down all of your ideas and then picking one to act on, which is what I do every day because there's so many ideas in my head. I think that the thing to remember, like, take one step, and like every like step or movement or inspired action that you take, because I want to make sure the language is as inclusive as possible. It'll bring you closer to where you want to be, into that dream, into that life that you just keep daydreaming and envisioning and praying and all the things, like trying to manifest it with all of your might. You're probably a lot closer than you think too. Like, I know we get like wrapped up in like, oh, this person did this thing and it's the new year and all these different like things that society tells us to focus on. I'm like, trust me, you're probably have made way more progress than you think. And you're probably a lot closer to that dream than you think, because all of the universe will conspire to, if something is yours, you can't mess it up. You can't miss it.
I think that's such a great message to end on, is just letting people know that they are closer than they think. letting people know that they do have to take action, that action is required, but it can look the way that they would like it to look. So I really appreciate you joining us on the podcast, and please let us know where we can find more information about you, connect with you deeper.
I have many links, but the easiest one to probably go to is cydneyray.com. So cydneyrai.com, because from there you can subscribe to my newsletter. There is like, you can click my links and it'll take you to my beacons, which has, I don't even know how many links. I stopped counting because of fundraisers, because it's not just about me. Like, I put my tell-all podcast and other things and my Substack at the top and all of my different platforms. But if you keep scrolling, you'll notice that I have like support these people, and it, there are a bunch of fundraisers in there. Then under that, there is support these limitless creative, like, these people that I love. So my mom's gardening page, my friend's Twitch stream that she just started that I'm helping her moderate, like, Hepatona, I think it's still on there, like, like all of these different things. Because I was trying to remember, I was like, I think I put a bit on there and not the actual page. I might have to go back and fix it. I think at one point I had like affiliate links and brands. Like, I try to include as much as possible on that page while I build my website, because I want people to know that, like, my life has never been just about me. I've been told before that I think this is the Cydney show. And you know what? I now embrace that, because yeah, it is. It's my life. Why would I not be the main character of my life?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I do hope people go check it out, see all the things that you are up to and all the things that the people who are amazing in your life are up to. Thank you again.
Thank you.